So actually, the project is done by two teams, my own team and architects. Last year, 1 year ago, we considered to be young architects, and sometimes we participated, like sometimes we get together to access to competitions where they ask for kind of more curriculum. This is a university housing project. It's placed in Sant Cugat. It's a neighborhood, a low-rise neighborhood, approximately 20 minutes by train from Barcelona. It's mostly residential. And this is the site. This is the School of Architecture, where all of us studied architecture, and also now we teach. The School of Architecture is the only big building on the neighborhood. And the university organized a two-round competition, public competition. We were selected to the first round as young architects, and we won. This is an image that we like a lot. It's one of the motives of the project. For us, we think that the image tries to explain more or less what Mediterranean architecture means in terms of energetical and physical conditions. What I'm talking about is relationship between mass and void, mineral and vegetable, or even cooling systems. The first strategy in the project is centralization. The idea is to understand the site as a campus. That means that we wanted to establish relationship with the School of Architecture, with the existing building. So, for example, one thing was to get more efficiency, yeah? And another one was to try to not reply or to not duplicate users that the competition was asking for. So the idea was, like, for example, to establish a relationship in terms of water, in terms of program as well, so to not duplicate spaces and to maximize places to live. And in terms of energy, we knew that since the last 10 years, the School of Architecture has been minimizing the consume of energy in wintertime. So we knew that the heating system was kind of oversized, and we proposed to use this energy that was being saved, no, or was the leftovers of this energy. So using the potential of the heating system to apply it on the new project. Besides that, we also simulate some other sustainable strategies, always controlling the cost to spend it on what for us was important. In terms of context, the idea was to use 100% of the plot to be able to displace the maximum of units touching the ground. So what we got was a two-story building instead of a big block, muscular block that would kind of disturb on the low-rise context. By doing that, we were able to not have to use elevators in the building, because as you can see, there is an access to the first floor with a bridge and to the ground floor with a ramp. I guess it's easy to understand on the drawing, and we were minimizing a lot the landscaping or the landscaped impact of the building. Another characteristic of this building is that it's a modular project. Modular means that it's built with 3D boxes, 3D units in concrete. All of them are industrialized on the factory and brought completely built and finished to the site, like more or less like what Jean Prouvé used to dream in his projects. With this system, we are able to build in 6 months. And I guess you can read the texts. These are more or less the phases: on-site, manufacturing, fabrication, transportation, assembly, and finishings. The idea, and that's why you are able to minimize the process, the idea is that you can overlap the on-site work while you are already producing the units. So that was more or less 2 months of work. And the only more or less interesting moment is the half prefabricated foundations. You try to put as many as mechanical network on ground, so that accelerates the finishings in the last process. The production is very cool. They produce like in a factory line. They produce 2 modules every day, 2 new structures every day. And at the end of the line, they need to finish 2 models. So every day, all the models finished. They move. They also use prefabricated bathrooms. And then they try to optimize the systems of construction and minimize a lot of waste. That took more or less 2 months of work, and then the assembly is really fast. It was in 2 weeks because the chain is very expensive. This is the detail of the prefabricated foundation. And then the finishings that more or less was related to facades and the inside patio. Now we will see part of a video. Well, that's more or less what it was. I don't want to just bother you with next one. Exactly. In terms of aggregation, as I said, 2-story building, and created this kind of inter patio, a common space that the idea was that it had to be understood as a second living space. So we wanted the units to be very transparent and to establish a strong continuity with this outside space. This is the plan, the first plan. So the access is through the bridge, that we also built the bridge using the same unit. As you see, there is a lot of repetition, and that's one of the characteristics of the project. And the ground floor has all these kind of patio, some pavement, some green areas, everything divided by the escalators or some common spaces like laundry areas that all the stairs. This is how it looks. How it looked, because the pictures were took one day after we planned the vegetation. So right now it looks a little bit, well, it looks much more hairy, wilder, and much nicer, much more greener, and more messy as well. And as you can see in the pictures, in in the images, the idea of the strong repetition get lost by the use of the ribs and also the use of the vegetation. These are pictures from around 4 months ago of the garden. And some details. The facade, in terms of the facade, we wanted to ask to ask a few things for the facade. The idea, this is the image of the competition. The idea it was to create a facade that was also giving an extra space to the houses, that the houses would not be finished with a handrail that is very concrete, very specific, and that other space could be used as storage of objects, plants, personal stuff for the students. At the same time, the idea of that second leaf was also to create a mesh, a metal mesh that would allow the vegetation to climb up, to go up, and to use vegetation in terms of solar control. Of course, the vegetation is selected and picked in a way that during winter they lose the leaves. So there is a lot of solar gain on the apartments, and on summer it's completely covered by this beautiful plant that has also a purple fruit. This is summer, spring, and winter. The side facades also have the mesh. This plant is taking longer to grow, and you also see the detail of the drainage from the green roof on the top. So just to finish, in terms of habitation, the idea was to think a space for students of architecture. So was a not determinate space, so that would allow a lot of free appropriation, and a space where work and life was kind of completely mixed, and would allow free creativity by the students to design by their own how to place the furniture to be able to divide spaces. So we used one paragraph from our code in terms of housing, that we just needed to prove that things, I don't know how to explain that in English, but things would follow the code in terms of housing, but you don't really need to build it. You just have to prove that if you build it, it would work, yeah? So that was the excuse to do nothing. You see the transparency to the inner patio, the concentration of mechanical elements, different ways of displaying furniture. The outside facade is prepared to be able to divide the apartments in two, to have two students living in the same room. And this is the kind of construction description. All the mechanicals are concentrated in the first part, and the rest of it is completely exposed. And the material that we used to build the interior is the same one of the exterior. And it was a leftover stock in Valencia. In Spain, we have a huge crisis of construction. So all this is a plywood to cast concrete. So there is no more construction. It was completely, and they had a lot of this material, so we got it really cheap. And So we were able to build this kitchen completely open, like a framework, because students are only there for a short period of time, and then when they go to summer, they have to take everything with them. It's a very durable and strong material, no pain, no joints. And then this space. These are pictures, architectonical pictures, yeah? These are some pictures of how they have it. Students, as you can imagine, are pretty dirty and messy. The idea of exposing the concrete also was to compensate more or less the environmental impact of the concrete by increasing the mass or the inertia of the space of the apartment. That's really good to use in Sant Cugat because it cools a lot at night, so it's a way of keeping the apartment cool. And just to finish, one video that tried to express this free appropriation. Thank you.